We got some breaking news from aircraft maker Boeing. The company now recommending that airlines carry out inspections on certain models of its popular 737 jet. That follows some terrifying moments for passengers on a Southwest Airlines flight last week. Many screamed as a 5-foot-long hole ripped open in the fuselage. The plane lost pressure but made a successful emergency landing. Southwest has been scrambling to inspect dozens of aging Boeing 737-300s in its fleet. Investigators have found indications of cracks in 3 planes so far. Joining us now is the former managing director of the National Transportation Safety Board, Peter Goelz. Peter, thanks very much for coming in. This Boeing 737-300, how worried should we be? And there are a lot of people out there watching right now who are air travelers. How worried should we be about flying these planes?
Well, I think the FAA and the NTSB and Boeing are on top of this issue. I mean, clearly it was very troubling to have this piece of the fuselage rip off, particularly in the area that it ripped off.
Who screwed up here? I mean, who made a blunder that allowed a plane that was so vulnerable that could have been a horrendous disaster? Who screwed up in this case? Well, somebody must have. There must be a failure someplace.
Well, I think if there is a failure, it's in the whole issue of aging aircraft and how do you monitor.
But isn't somebody supposed to inspect these aging aircraft?
Well, in this case, it just came from what's known as a D check 11 months before. That's where they strip this plane down and go over it. No one knew to look in this area of the fuselage. It had never caused a problem.
So what's
before.
The most important lesson we have to learn from this near disaster?
I think people are going to take a hard look at how airplanes age, and they're not going to just focus on the troubling areas that they've seen in the past. They're going to look at the whole aircraft.
Should passengers ask the airline carrier, how old is this plane I'm flying on? Right? Would that be smart?
Let's look. I mean, we have had a very safe number of years. The past 5 years have been extraordinarily safe. No, I don't think they need to do that, but I think the airworthiness directives that are going to come out over the next day or so are going to drive this issue so that anyone who's flying a 737-300, 400, or 500, those planes are going to be looked at.
Is it just those planes, or are there other planes that potentially could have a similar problem?
I don't think there's any indication that the next generation planes are in any difficulty. They're going to look at this set of planes first.
The next generation Boeing. What about Airbus?
There's no indication that Airbus has a similar problem.
Are there some planes that are more dangerous than other planes?
Oh, I don't think so. But, I mean, there is this question of aging aircraft that we've been wrestling with for some time, and I think this is going to spur everybody into another look at it.
You can imagine how terrified those passengers must have been. They're flying, and all of a sudden, a big hole, they're at 30 or 35,000 feet, and all of a sudden, the pilot's got to go down to 10,000 feet because of the pressure. You can only describe what must have been going on in that plane.
Well, luckily, the flight crews trained for this. I mean, you really are in some great jeopardy at that point. The flight crew had to get their oxygen masks on within 20 or 30 seconds before they start to feel the full impact of the loss of pressurization. And I'm sure the passengers were absolutely terrified.
And this is another good reason why, even if we're flying and cruising, you should always have your seatbelt on just in case.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to ever, if you got to go to the lavatory, obviously, right. You got to take your seatbelt off. But you're sitting in your seat, you should wear your seatbelt.
And keep it snugly, keep it snug.
When you say snug, really tight or just so that in case of an emergency, you don't fly off.
You're not leaving your seat. Exactly.
Those seatbelts are secure, and they're going to save your life if there's an issue.
Absolutely. The seats and the seatbelts have been designed for the most serious events, and they've saved lives. Keep it on.
Was everybody just lucky in this case, or was there another factor?
No, I think it's a combination of training, of the ability of people to keep their seatbelts on, and that the flight crew really performed admirably.
Very quickly, all of a sudden, Air France says they're going to search for the remains of this Air France jetliner that crashed, disappeared off the coast of Brazil. And they're looking for parts and remains, the black box. They've never recovered any of that.
No, this is an extraordinary event. And, credit really has to go to the Woods Hole oceanography people. They developed the untethered vehicles that were able to search at that depth with that degree of accuracy. The photographs are extraordinary.
Do you think they'll ever find that black box, as they call it?
I think they are well on their way.
I think the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean someplace?
I mean, the problem is if it broke free, These things weigh 35 or 40 pounds. It could have buried themselves.
But 2 years later, it's not pinging anymore.
No, it is. It stops pinging after 30-plus days. It could have sunk into the sediment in the bottom. We may not get it.
So this may be a mystery forever.
Right. Could be.
Peter, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.